Hi, today I wanted to talk about the idea of letting go of the idea of there being a quick fix for your mental illness. This is something that I had to do in the last couple of months and really grappled with and was very angry and upset and hopeless about, because it was something where it just kind of felt really awful to recognize, hey, this is not something that I'm going to be able to just wake up and get over. This is not something I can power myself through. Like so many other things in life, I'm able to kind of just put my head down and work for it and get what I want or what my goals are. But the problem with recovery from an eating disorder and recovery from mental illness in general is that it's not really a clear cut. There's always that phrase that I see a lot where it says like recovery is not linear, and that's just kind of the truth. It means that while you're heading in the right direction, there's going to be ups and there's going to be downs, and it's going to be a pain. Really, it's going to be a real pain. But basically, when I was first struggling in high school and in college with my mental illness, I was really just thinking the whole time I need to snap out of it. I didn't recognize that I had a mental illness. I refused to accept the idea that I could have a chemical imbalance in my brain. And so I thought that I was just being dramatic. That could stem from things that I was fed by society or people around me about mental illness or about people that are sad or that are anxious and things like that. But really it came down to me not knowing that I was mentally ill, not recognizing that this is not something where I can put my head down and power through it. This is something that I have to get help for, and I kind of have to dig into rather than kind of just step over or jump over. A couple of months ago, I was seeing a psychiatrist when I was in a pretty rough spot mentally, and he told me basically, he kind of just looked at me and he was like, there is no silver bullet pill that I can give you that's gonna fix everything. There isn't a quick fix. It's a process and you just kind of have to deal with it. And when I heard that the first time, I was honestly a mess. I was very upset afterwards because when I hear that, I hear there is no hope. He didn't tell me there was no hope or that things were never going to get better. He told me that it wasn't going to be instantaneous. He told me that it was going to be a process. And a process does not mean only an uphill climb. A process can mean ups and downs and turnarounds and back and forward. You get the gist. Basically though, I think it's just kind of stems from us needing to understand what a mental illness is. It is a chemical imbalance in the brain. It is molecules not working in the way that they're supposed to. You would not go to a diabetic person and tell them to just get over it or tell them that it's just a phase or even you wouldn't hear a diabetic person being like, well, I'm just gonna really will my body to create all this insulin because I'm strong and I'm this or that. That's kind of weird, and that's just not how medicine works. And I think recognizing that mental illness really and truly is a physical thing. It doesn't just boil down to how someone feels. Like there are MRIs and brain scans of people with depression and anxiety, PTSD, BPD, all that stuff, and their brains legitimately look different. All of our brains are wired differently, and some people's brains just have a hard time producing certain chemicals. With that being said though, even when I went on medication and I did feel worlds better, I felt a lot more stable and able to kind of manage myself, I was still having these dips and these pains and these kind of just like achings in my heart. And that was hard because I was like, well, I already did the big thing that I was trying to make myself do. I already did the thing that I was supposed to do. Why is it not all better now? I then went into 6 weeks of residential treatment in a house, and I still struggle with some of the things with that food. With that food. I still struggle with some of the things with food and body image. And that was really frustrating because I was like, I gave up 6 weeks of my life, lived in a residential facility, and I'm still struggling with some of this stuff. Like that's not right. And then I'm in my third year of going to therapy, and I still talk about a lot of the same things that I talked about in my first year of therapy. And the thing is though, as I look at it now, I'm able to recognize that while I am talking about the same subject matter in my therapy sessions, the perspective I have is so much different. While I still struggle with food occasionally, I am nowhere near where I was. And so I think my encouragement to you in all of this and the idea of it all being a process is to stop and look back at where you were a year ago. Look back where you were 5 years ago. And even if the only thing that's really changed is you understanding yourself a little bit better, that's still a huge change. A process doesn't mean that it's going to be a quick fix. It's not going to be before this and after this. It's all kind of blending together. And a big thing for me is really looking back at it. I talked about journaling a couple of videos ago and why I do it. And honestly, it's really helpful for me because it reminds me like, hey, I really have come a long way, because I used to do things that now I sometimes am tempted to do, but I don't do them anymore. It's not a part of my everyday life. And I think that's really cool in and of itself to kind of recognize as well. I think it's okay also to be angry at the process, because obviously for me right now, where I am at mentally and in my life, I'm in a way better place than I was a year ago, just worlds better. And so being kind of on that upswing has kind of given me a perspective where I can look like kind of down the mountainside, to get all metaphorical with it. But I can kind of like look down the mountain that I climbed and be like, wow, that was a pretty tough hike. Yeah, that sucks. And I'm probably going to have to walk back down again and then go all the way back up. And that's going to be a pain. But right now I'm kind of digging this view. And I talk about also in another video, collecting core memories and having moments that are just good and saving them up for the bad times. And those come in handy so much, because when I recognize that it's a process, I'm also able to recognize that the lows don't stay. Even though it can feel kind of heartbreaking to be like, okay, it's not a quick fix, so I'm going to be stuck in this low for a while. You could be stuck in it for a while, but you're not going to be in it forever. You don't have, there is no other option but to keep moving forward. And yes, there is that other option. But at the end of the day, when you recognize that it's a process and you aren't putting all of your hope into the idea of a quick fix, you're better equipped to mentally be ready to kind of say to yourself, okay, it's a process, I just got to get back up and keep going. Or, okay, it's a process and the bad days are going to come, but while I'm in the good days, I'm going to recognize that I'm here. And I really just kind of wanted to say all this because I kind of wish I had figured that out a couple years ago. I wish that I had known, stepping into my first ever therapy session, that this was not something where I would wash my hands clean of it and be good. I was going to be in it for a while. I was even in a headspace where when I first met with my therapist in college, and I showed her the letter and everything like that, I literally wrote her a letter the first day I met her, and I was planning to give it to her on the last day that I would see her. And I legit thought I would be in therapy for maybe like 6 weeks. I was like, surely 6 sessions is enough and I'll be over this, and I'm writing to you this now so that I can give it to you before Thanksgiving. And I was like so oblivious to the fact that we're all very intricate things. We have entire lives like going on inside of us, and it's not something where we're able to quickly fix something. Obviously, there are situations where talking through something, you're like, I was really only going to therapy to kind of help me figure this specific thing out. There's nothing wrong with that. But again, you're still in a process of growing and becoming the human that you are. Recognizing that you're in a process allows you to recognize the good and the bad as what they are, part of the process. Part of it. That doesn't mean that it is the whole process. That means that it is only a part of it. And I'm really grateful for the process, because along the way, I've gotten to kind of come across parts of myself that I had forgotten about, that I had lost in like kind of the mess of it all. I've gotten to rediscover things that I loved when I was a child. I've gotten to kind of rediscover myself in so many ways, but at the same time, I'm not just rediscovering myself. The process of it all has allowed me to find out things about myself I never even knew, find out why it is that I think the way I think, and all that kind of stuff. And those gems are hidden in the process. If it was a quick fix, we would miss out on so much. We would miss out on so much development of ourselves. And so I'm saying this now to the camera, and I know that in like 4 months, if I'm in a bad place again, I'm gonna be like, screw the process, I hate this. But the bottom line is, I'm allowed to be mad. You're allowed to be mad at the process. You're allowed to be pissed off. You're allowed to be hurt and hopeless and upset, but you're just not allowed to give up. That's primarily the main thing. You just have to stick with it, because in the same way that the highs come, the lows are going to come. And in the same way that the lows come, remember that the highs are going to come. It's really hard to remind yourself when you're in the midst of a low time that there are good times that happen. But in that case, I do encourage you to go back and look at one of the videos that I made about collecting core memories and beautiful moments. That is all for today. What does your process look like? What have you found in the midst of all of this that you really like about yourself? I personally have rediscovered that I really dig painting. I'm not great at it. I'm not an artist. I don't pretend to be, but I really like doing it. And that's something, honestly, in the last couple of months or the last year that I've kind of rediscovered about myself. I've always loved crafting, and I've kind of just like found myself expressing myself in that way. And plenty of other things too. But I would love to know what you discovered about yourself in the process, and just wanted you to know that it is a process. And that's not a death sentence, me saying that. That's not hopelessness in me saying that. That is hope in and of itself, letting you know that it is a process, but you're getting closer and closer to who you are and who you're meant to be. So thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. I'll see you later. Let me know. That's all. Bye.